A very good day to you. I'm Chris Porter, CEO of Netbotix, and I have Kate Bentley with me, our Head of Sales. Today we're going to discuss process automation, particularly in the light of COVID-19. What is it? What challenges businesses are facing? What benefits it can deliver to a business? And we'll also cover our Netbotix solution. In short, Netbotix delivers a plug, play, and manage solution to accelerate the adoption of automation to help businesses future-proof their workforce. So if we look at the various industrial revolutions over the years, in 1931, good old Albert Einstein talked about the rise of man-made machines. Now, of course, this is a very early form of automation, albeit machine-based. But even then, the way we work was set to change. And if we then move to 2017, Obama talked about automation making lots of jobs obsolete. In fact, we've actually seen quite the opposite. Companies are reusing their workforce in different ways to accelerate growth or deliver benefits to customers. In a recent survey by Dell, they found that 85% of the jobs that will exist in 2030 haven't even yet been invented. Also, in another survey, it's interesting to note that 60% of processes currently being performed across a business can be automated. So that's a huge amount of potential. So moving on to today, and of course, we really are in unprecedented times. There's currently 8.4 million people on furlough at a cost of £15 billion so far to the UK government and the taxpayer. So the economy really needs to get going pretty soon. We are, of course, seeing a gradual ease of lockdown, with many businesses reopening in the coming weeks. But what does return to work look like for many businesses? We'd like to explore that with you today. There's lots of challenges to address from a workplace and a working practices perspective. And you may have seen that Google and Facebook have both said that they don't expect most of their workforce to return to an office until 2021. And indeed, Dyson, their workforce has revolted, saying they don't want to go back into an office and won't do so. And this means that business leaders will need to change the way they run the businesses. Some offices don't lend themselves to implementing social distancing measures, and certainly that applies to our office in London. And business processes may become disjointed, as some staff don't have access to all the systems remotely. And indeed, the structured use of video and collaboration technologies, like we're using today, is a must in the new world. I'm sure the questions on this slide are at the forefront of your mind from a senior leader's perspective. I'm pleased to say that the solution we're going to be talking to you about today will address these challenges. By identifying and automating a number of repetitive business processes, we can help you increase employee engagement, deliver a significant return on investment in the hundreds and thousands of %, and free up people's time to focus on really important tasks, such as analysing data from a finance perspective, or managing employee well-being, or giving people more time to speak to end customers and perhaps upsell solutions. So I'm going to hand over to Kate now, and she can explain a bit more to you about robotic process automation, or RPA for short, and so you can help to understand how you can achieve some of your goals.
Thanks, Chris, and good morning, good afternoon, everyone. So what is RPA? What is robotic process automation? Well, what I like to think of it is that it imitates what a human does on a desktop. It's not a hardware bot. We're not bringing any hardware, physical bots or robots taking over the world here. It is a software bot that can imitate anything that you do. Now, this can be screen scraping between two different applications. This could be copying and pasting. This could actually go into a legacy system and actually look up data. These are pretty much structured processes. Processes are very logical, rule-based, and actually structured data being performed from end to end by automation. Now, there are two different types, and I won't go into it too much today because we don't have a lot of time. However, if you do and you are interested and do want to know a bit more, then do reach out and we can explore that with you. There are two different types. There is unattended. Now, unattended is your true automation. These are the bots, I like to say, that are in a dark room working away. You give it an input and it gives you an output. Very rule-based, very mundane, very repetitive processes. This is where it can drive value. And then on the other spectrum, which is actually really interesting, is the attended side. Now, the attended bot actually helps where you've got customer services, where you've got front-facing actual customer services in terms of perhaps even patients or even citizens in terms of a local gov, or where you actually have people actually interacting with other humans. Equally, where you have high value activities that do need a human interactions and also do require having some sort of skill. This is where attended bots will go off and do certain parts of those processes, so not completely automated, but help on the desktop. So what are the benefits of actually RPA, especially with sort of COVID-19? Well, in particular, RPA brings some really kind of drives value for business in all different aspects. And depending on obviously your business needs and your kind of what you've got, the challenges that you have, it can address several of those. Now on the slide, I've got a couple that I'm going to pick out. So in particular, actually reducing operational costs. So as we move into the new world, should we say, post-crisis, actually looking at operational costs, how do we reduce that? How do we reduce maybe perhaps legacy applications, printing, shredding, actually maybe even thinking about how do we drive even further high value with the workforce that we have. Automation can enable that. It can work 4 or 5 times faster. It actually has 0 errors, and it can enable the worker to take those mundane, really rule-based processes away. And with that, focus on high value. Now, there's a really interesting survey that actually noted that 85% of employees are disengaged within the business, which is quite drastic when you think of it. And actually £5.6 trillion is being spent or being lost due to that, to the fact that you've got disengaged employees. So actually taking some of those processes away and enabling to actually think about maybe leadership, problem solving, processes that do require that higher skill, that human interaction, and that's where you can drive that. The other interesting thing is about training. So as we start coming off furlough, as we start as a new world and actually working perhaps even remotely or even distancing ourselves from our other employees and our other teammates, is how do we actually think about training and onboarding and actually engaging with those new people? Or even perhaps people coming back off furlough or that haven't been able to work over the last couple of months. Then how do we get them upskilled, but in a safe distance way? And RPA can enable that, especially in that attended space. It can enable actually taking through a process, a bot, a digital worker can work them through that process step by step, adhering to the governance that you have within the business and ensuring that everyone is doing that process correctly. The other thing that I mentioned is about kind of risk. Critical risk, and making sure that processes that are critical to the business and could be detrimental if not performed, are they being actually performed all the time and also seamlessly without errors? And that's, again, where RPA can drive value. And then the other part of that is about revenue, driving customer satisfaction, making sure that your customers are happy. And again, RPA can help on that, both on the unattended, processing inquiries, processing new customer orders, but equally around the satisfaction around a customer service center. And then lastly, it's about securely accessing, remotely. We're now working remotely. We have to access different systems. Are there particular applications that perhaps are legacy or sitting on certain systems, even maybe a third-party client system that you need to get access to and unable to because it's remotely? Again, RPA can do that. It can integrate, rule-based, and perform those processes that are on those applications in a secure environment.